Welcome to the Creator Spotlight here on the Spotlight on Fightful. I am Steven Jensen, joined as always by Jeremy Lambert. Our guest today is the two-time New South champion. We have all business Tyler Franks here with us. Tyler, thanks for joining us. How you doing, man?
Doing great, man. Thank you guys for having me. Very
Oh yeah,
excited to get to meet you guys and talk some graps.
yeah. We're excited to have you. We've had quite a few people in like the New South universe on the show over the years, and you were one that kind of eluded us, mainly because I felt like so we're gonna get into a lot of this stuff, but you were the champion previously, had to vacate the championship. Hunter Drake wound up becoming the champion. He's held the title multiple times, and you guys obviously have a long history with one another. And now that you are back and you've defeated him to once again reclaim the championship that you never lost, I guess first and foremost, how does it feel to be the champion again? And more so that it was against Hunter Drake, and not only that, you guys seem to reunite as the Talladega Nights at the end of the show as well.
Yeah, so it feels really good, of course, to be the New South champion. New South was the promotion that I took my first bump in, the place that I broke into, had my first matches, really put me out there. So, and I've been here. I started training with New South 7 years ago. So I've been, it's been a long time coming, and that's a mountain that I've been working to climb for years. And, to finally climb it last year was awesome. And then obviously to lose it due to injury out of my control is something that sucks. And it is, it's one of those obstacles that can make or break you. You can allow that moment to linger, and you could have one loss turn into 4, 5, 6 based off how you react from that. But it was really sweet to climb that mountain again, and of course to do it against my former tag team partner, Hunter Drake. And every time we get in the ring together, great things seem to happen, whether on the same team or across the ring from each other. And it felt really good to get that win on him. And the moment after the match, I mean, it was a cool moment, but there's still a lot of things on both sides here before we could call it a reuniting, so to speak. Emphasis on the reuniting, but
Yes.
That's just something to think about. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was something that when will do you know when the show will actually air?
You're asking the wrong guy here.
So I asked Carmen behind the scenes, and Carmen said that he thinks it'll be this week, if not next week. So, by the time you guys, watch this interview, hopefully you can also watch the show soon as well. I think it'll be on IWTV from what I'm hearing. I think that's the platform, but we'll obviously keep you guys updated on that as well once it drops. But, you having that history with Hunter, I wanted to know kind of what it was like, because you mentioned winning the championship the first time and then obviously having to relinquish it and just now winning it. What was it like? Because it was like you guys had two pretty different trajectories after the Talladega Nights broke up. Like Hunter Drake went on and got the Humong Gold like pretty quick. Like he became the champion, and the company kind of like focused him really heavily. And not to say that you had to restart like completely, because you guys were very, very over as the Talladega Nights as a tag team, but it felt like you had to like kind of reclimb the ranks throughout that process to eventually get that championship that Hunter got kind of quicker. What was it like kind of seeing the trajectory of you two guys, and then kind of where you're both at now, where you're kind of back on like that same level, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, I get it. It's one of those, every time when you see it, when a team splits up, a lot of times it's hard for, a lot of people do the classic, the Marty and Sean comparisons, and not every team has a Marty and Sean. There's some cases where both guys go on a similar path. Maybe one guy flourishes, one guy flounders. Sometimes both guys flounder, but I think it was one of those when you get brought in as a tag team, and that's all we really knew for a while starting there. I mean, we came in together. We teamed for the first couple of years. We were in the business. And you're on the road together a lot. And then whenever it changes, you're kind of doing things differently, becoming a singles wrestler and trying to find that groove. And, I think it was a lot of trial and error, trying to figure out what worked for me, what didn't work for me. And, that really, talking about almost kind of restarting, I had that moment early last year. I mean, for me and all the people that know me know that, I was really struggling in wrestling and in kind of life at that point. And I was kind of thinking I needed to step away, because not that I think I can't do things. It's just I feel like I should be doing these things at a high level, and I'm not at that high level that I want to be. So it was one of those sink or swim moments I put myself into. And after the Haas tournament last year, I left New South for a little bit. It was only a couple months before I returned and won the title. But, initially I planned to step away to feel like, well, I need to find new pools to swim in, to kind of refresh things, try to find something that rolls for me. And then whatever happened last year, just kind of a switch flipped and things started. It's like a snowball effect. One thing goes right at 2, 3, 4, it just kind of rolled up. And luckily I've been able to ride that wave and kind of get back to where I've wanted to be and knew I could be the whole time.
What do you think that flip switch was last year, from the point that you were at to the point that you are now?
That's a good question. I definitely think it was, I think it was like the Haas tournament last year. I know going into it, I put a lot of expectation on myself, and, I was really hoping I could win the tournament. I thought that I was in the right position, and I thought, I thought I'd done the right things, but it was kind of that wake up call of realizing, like, you're going to have to really show these people. You're going to have to really go and kind of do it on your own. And it was just that I just finally made that deal on myself that I gotta switch that gear. I gotta take it to another level.
There was also the transition from all beef to all business that happened along the way as well. What was the, I guess, kind of, if you can kind of just walk us through kind of the decision to make that change?
At the time, New South, Derek Neal was the main player, one of the top players in the game at the time. And it was one of those, it came to me, the group with the cortege, and to kind of take myself from the white meat baby face that everyone loves to that kind of despicable, always trying to be one step ahead, even if he's not in his head, character, and just kind of that opportunity to be more, less about the theatrics and more about the being all business, just getting the job done, strictly business.
Okay. I have a non-wrestling question to ask that kind of relates to the former moniker being all beef. Tyler Franks, are you a fan of one Joey Chestnut by any chance?
Oh, I love Joey Chestnut, man. He is a funny story though, because right now I live in the East Tennessee area, close to Knoxville, and there was I believe it was like a bologna eating contest or something they were doing at Knoxville, and Joey Chestnut was competing. It was him, Glenn Jacobs was competing, and then it was sponsored by the Major League Eating or whatever that group is. So I tried to register to join, but I was like a week or so late to get in. But I was going to try to compete and see. I figured I wouldn't get close to competing with the GOAT, but just to be on there, I thought would have been cool. But yeah, I'm a huge fan.
That's awesome. I've had the opportunity to meet him in person twice. He did a macaroni and cheese eating competition and a taco eating competition. And what was so funny about it was both times after he ate, like, he broke records in both of these foods in front of my very eyes. And then he walks off stage. No one's really like paying attention to him, which is kind of like the show was over, and he just like walked to like a tent and started eating Fritos bags. Like, he was still hungry and he's eating and I walked up to him and started talking to him, and he was literally one of the coolest human beings I've ever talked to in my life. Like, he's down to earth. I mean, it's funny because we're talking about a guy who slams hot dogs, but at the same time, like, he's the best of all time at something.
It's unreal. I mean, he has about as many world championships as John Cena, if we're being honest here. And what he's done, I mean, it's incredible though, because not any regular person can eat like more than 5 hot dogs in one sitting without feeling like they've overdone themselves, and he's doing that in 30 seconds. Yes. And it's unreal. My favorite clip of him was, I think it was a couple years ago, at the 4th of July contest when somebody ran on the stage and he's like mid hot dog and throws him in a headlock. Looks like he was just it just keeps going, and he won comfortably. Just unfazed is the GOAT.
Yes.
Do you have a record for hot dogs since you were going to enter this competition? Were you training at all for it?
So no, I've never personally like seen how many I could do, but I know I could put down a lot of food in one sitting. I'm a big fan of eating big meals, so I don't know. I didn't think I was going to win, but I definitely was. Thought I could put a mark in it. I think I wouldn't have came last. I'll put it that way.
What's your favorite kind?
It's a different animal when you.
Sorry, I had a lag. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good, bro.
Oh yeah, my internet's been messing up. I might have to change it here in a second, but I will say it's a different animal when you like have to do a competition. And I say this as someone who has been in one unofficial eating contest. I think I can eat a lot just sitting and be fine, but then like being in the competition, completely different thing. It's like, nope, this is not what I thought this was going to be at all.
No, I think I did one. It was an eating contest, but it wasn't like an amount you could eat at one time. It was so Action Wrestling did a show at the Hot Sauce Festival this year in like the Nashville area, and I was injured at the time. It was like a couple weeks after I'd injured my elbow, and I was out there, and they were doing like they were donuts, and I was hungry. I was like, oh god, I eat these donuts. I looked at the competition, and I was like, man, I want to compete. And I was like, I think I could beat these guys. So it was 4 donuts filled with Carolina Reaper jelly and sprinkled with Carolina Reaper dust, on the top of it, and basically who could eat the 4 donuts the fastest. And that was a bad call on my part going into it.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
You slam the first one, and you're kind of trying to go quick, and it ain't too bad. But then you're about midway through the second, and you start to feel the heat, and then the jelly. It's just. And then you eat the second one, you're on the third one, you're like, oh man, why am I doing this to myself? And I look over at the guy beside me, and he's already on his 4th. I was like, oh, if I'm not going to beat him, why should I put myself through all of this? I kind of ate most of the third one. I was like, I'm not going to eat this 4th one. I'm not beating this guy. But that was a fun time.
That's what happens to a lot of the competitors, like against Chestnut in these competitions. Like eventually they just realize, like, why am I even still doing this? He's so far ahead, and everyone just turns and starts watching him. Like I always like, at some point, everyone just like starts regretting. Like, if I'm not going to win this thing, why am I still eating this? Like, I need to stop. It's so funny. I totally lost my train of thought. Oh no, I was going to ask you. You said you like to eat really large meals. Like, what's some of the stuff that you like to eat the most?
Oh man, so I'm pretty consistent on what I eat. I eat a lot of the same things. I'm a huge fan. I love steak. Steak is clear cut my number one favorite food, but it's a delicacy. You can't eat it every day. I'm a huge fan of like hibachi food, like the Japanese hibachi chicken, steak.
Do you do shrimp
rice.
sauce? The pink sauce?
Yes.
Yeah,
oh yeah. Gotta just smother that baby in it. I'm a big fan of my weakness foods are like donuts, cheesecake. Cheesecake's number one dessert for me, hands down. Pizza's tremendous. Chicken, like specifically Chick-fil-A, the chicken nuggets. Like today I ate 20 chicken nuggets. They're tremendous. I could all day, man. I could just, there's so much food I could eat. I will say, while I was hurt, there was one day I'm a huge Alabama football fan too. That's where I was born and raised. So Alabama was playing LSU, and I was like, I'm just gonna relax. I'll eat a pizza. Pizza had this deal where you could do like a medium pizza and like wings or something for however much, So I got like a medium thin crust pizza. It was like 12 boneless wings and the cinnamon sticks. And I got this it was like 30 minutes to kick off. It was all gone before the game started.
Impressive.
So, yeah.
Sorry, Jeremy.
Oh, I wanted to ask about basically your training with Dr. Tom Prichard and what that was like.
Oh, it was tremendous. So I went up there. I was there during the summer of 2020. We were the COVID class. And at the time when I went up there, I had been doing matches for a little over a year and had been training for about 2.5 years at that point. So going in, I had a little bit of experience edge over a lot of the guys, but the mental aspect you learn from it is completely unreal. It opens your eyes to a lot of things you didn't realize at the time when you're just doing matches and you're traveling. It's a whole lot of the reasons why we do everything. And I've taken so much from those 3 months that I was there to now that apply in every match. And by far, that was the best ring shape I'd ever been in because it was 5 days a week. You're in the ring 4 days a week. And the building we were in, no air conditioner, hot as hell, one big fan. That's it, and he's, and he wants everybody to work hard. But it's one of those, like, the people that want to succeed from his school will succeed. So if you see a lot of people that come out, they say they're Dr. Tom guys and, they don't kind of deliver what you'd expect from a Dr. Tom guy. It's because they didn't put in the work. It's not because of the training that was given out there, because it's top tier. I'd recommend it to anyone looking to get in the business to go to Dr. Tom's school.
Well, and some of the people that, have been successful out of that school, for instance, and I don't know if they would have been there at the same time as you, but like Hunter Drake, obviously,
yep.
Was he there at the same time as you? And what about Kenzie
Correct.
Page, or was she a little bit before you?
I believe she was in his first class, if I'm not mistaken. I believe she's in his very first class. But me and Hunter Drake were in the same class. And AJ Kazana, if you're familiar with him, was in our class as well.
Okay, nice. You had a good class there, and a lot of good trainees. What are some of the? I know you said there's like stuff that you learn that you still take with you with like every match and everything you do in wrestling. Like, what are some examples of that, if you don't mind us asking?
Yeah, for sure. Like for me going in, the biggest thing, and it sounds so simple when you break it down, but like the why you do everything, like the big emphasis is like you do a lot. You're not going to go in there and you're going to learn how to do these insane moves, right? You're doing very basic stuff in terms of like movements and stuff, but the biggest thing is repetition. And the biggest thing too, like he had this one drill, I believe it's called the repetition drill, but it's really where you're out there for a long time. The idea is to be in the ring nonstop for over an hour. And the biggest point during the whole time is you're doing the same spots the whole time, but you want to do them as fluid the 15th time you do them as you do the first time. So it's the every time, like I'm in a hole, oh, I gotta keep my head up. Oh, the camera's here. Where's he grabbing me? Oh, it's my arm. It's when you do those things to so much that they become natural. You don't have to think about them anymore. It's just building it and beating it into you to where it's just, instead of it becoming something you're trying to do, it's natural. It's a repetition. It's a reaction. You're not forcing anything. A lot of those things. And then a lot of the just kind of the mental notes, the things of, it's really priceless, to watch matches. When I was there, early on, I had a match over the summer, and we watched it in class later because I asked him to critique it. He said, "Oh, sure, you can watch. We can watch it during class." And just the whole match, it's just every little thing just ripping apart. But I wouldn't want it any other way. If there's anything that I can learn from, it's not he's trying to tear you down to make you feel terrible. He's trying to tear you down because he knows you can do better. So just all those little things like that, that is because his brain is just a well of endless knowledge. He's forgotten more things than I'll probably ever know in the business, so.
I want to ask about your NWA experience and going there for, you've been there for Power, but then also the kind of the territory stuff. But what's that experience been like?
Oh, it's been tremendous. I'm very grateful for the NWA. They've helped me out greatly. And, they're the first kind of major company that's given me an opportunity as well. So I'm definitely very grateful for that. My first show with them was I did the Back to the Territory show representing Crossfire in June. I was in a scramble match for the junior heavyweight title. And I didn't go back until October, the October tapings. And that's where things really changed for me. Those went tremendous. I had the KFW, or now NWA Crossfire, their biggest show of the year, Black Harvest, usually runs every October. And I had the opportunity to main event against Tom Latimer for the NWA Championship. And that was a match that I really believe changed the trajectory of my career at the time. That was one of those temporal marker events that I believe really was huge for me. Learned so much, and the next 2 days was their tapings in Tampa, and so I went down there. And the first day I had a dark match, and from my understanding, everything went really well. And so the next day, showed up and found out I'm wrestling Tom on Power. So it was a complete flip flop of the first day you're wrestling a dark match, next day wrestling the champ. Oh shit, and to get to wrestle him twice in the same weekend, that was something that was a huge opportunity and a huge learning experience, and definitely.
Oh yeah, you're muted.
Okay, sorry, I was getting a phone call.
You're okay.
But yeah, that was huge moment for me. Getting to work Tom twice that weekend, and then from there, I've been back to every show that they've had, and I'll be there in March for Hard Times. So very grateful for them, and especially that weekend.
I love seeing you in there with Tom on Power. I thought the commentary team did a good job too, because they kind of the scenario was the Power match was non-title, correct? But it was
Correct, yeah.
but the reason, they were saying, we know we got this big match with EC3 and Latimer, so we can't even risk him losing the title. So that made it seem like you're a threat to potentially beat Tom Latimer. And even though it was a fairly short match, I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. But did you get any feedback from Latimer or anyone else in the company after that? Any valuable feedback?
Yeah, no. Tom Latimer is one of the greatest people I've met in the business so far, in terms of that. That weekend, he had a lot of things I was very grateful to hear from him. Somebody that growing up, I was a huge fan of TNA growing up, big fan. And so to me, to get to work with the guy that I watched, 10 years ago to now, it's for me, that was a huge kind of full circle-ish moment. And to hear someone that I looked up to like that kind of look at me in a light that, I wasn't familiar that other people looked at me in, so to get that kind of feedback from guys like him, and, encouraging words from guys like Billy and other people, that's something that really kind of lit that fire in me that, oh man, I do belong here. I do belong at these places. And, it was cool that weekend. I showed myself that, okay, I can compete with the big boys. I can compete for world championships. Now the next goal is to, now I got to work and show them that not only I can compete in these matches, I can win these matches, so now it's cool to start building up to a next goal, because now I've learned nothing is impossible in this business. So, shoot for the stars, you can land on the moon. So
two things. One's going to be a statement. The other will be a question. So the statement I've got is the NWA, one of their biggest fumbles was not going with Derek Neal when everyone was talking about Derek Neal to the NWA. Just throwing that out there. I'm still salty about that. The other thing, the question I've got for you is, obviously, you can hang with a lot of these talents because you've wrestled and been around a lot of these talents, even outside of the NWA. What's it like seeing former New South champion Kenzie Page and her success in the NWA being not only the world champion, but also the tag team champion now as well?
Oh, it's huge, she's someone that is, she's been a big help as well too, for someone like me, coming through the Crossfire platform. You really see, that's where you see people like her kind of really flourish, because they're, she's not only a talent in the ring, but she's doing a lot of stuff, putting the show on, running the show. And and that's like a, it's really cool to kind of watch and learn and see, how she handles these things and does that. And then, for instance, like to touch on your first thing too, I agree with the Derek Neal statement, man. He's tremendous talent, and wish him a speedy recovery, and definitely would have loved to seen him on the NWA platform. I think he would have fit like a glove in any major platform, to be honest. But yeah, she's one of the young goats of this business.
Yeah, I just, for what it's worth, I think I've said this 1,000 times on this show and my other show on the Weekender. I'm always talking about how I honestly think that Kenzie Page is the most valuable commodity that the NWA currently has, like, regular access to. Like, I like that they have the way that they built her to, well, almost knocked my stuff over. The way that they built built her to defeat Camille for the championship. The way that they've really focused on her as like a main focal point of the show going forward. And I just, I think that she's very, very special talent. So, yeah, it's cool seeing the trajectory of people that because I knew her a lot from New South prior to the NWA. So it's cool seeing that you're, there more often now as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I really appreciate that as well, man.
Oh, absolutely.
What was it like seeing the feedback from somebody like Cabana Man Dan and saying from the the 3 stages of hell match, I should say, not so much 2 out of 3 falls, but seeing his feedback and him saying like, yeah, these are top guys now, from bump guys to top guys.
Oh man, it means a lot. Like Dan was one of those guys too that was very integral early on in my career, of being one of the first people to offer me to hop in the car and go on these trips and try to help me get booked and really learn the experience of being a independent professional wrestler. And he's another one of those guys. This one of those hidden gems characters that when you find out, the people that know about Cabana Man Dan know his talents and know what he's done and what he's capable of, and he's definitely been really good about helping the next generation and helping get guys like me like up to the level that we're at now. Like he's tremendous. Nothing but good things to say about good old Cabana Man Dan.
Man, I still have very fond memories of, I used to go to the Basement East for the SUP shows, Southern Underground Pro, and he was like, that's where I think I discovered, I know he'd been around for a long time, but that's where I first started watching him like live years back. Bikini Bottom's favorite wrestler at the time. Yeah, any other feedback from other kind of like veterans of New South that like kind of your relationship with people like Dump Sanders and like those kind of guys?
Yeah, Dump Sanders, man, like he, since day one, he was there. He literally saw us come from the guys that have never stepped foot in a ring to, just showing up every show, throwing boards on the ring, going to Walmart when they need to go get something, sitting in the crowd, to, sweeping up after, to wearing the suits and getting choke slammed every week. Like he was very great about, like, he wanted to help he gave us the first platform, the first opportunity, running New South and stuff. But when we were doing Thunder Child Security, me and Hunter, this was back in 2018 to 2019. It was before we ever had a match, but he allowed us to come out with the Hill GM at the time, Chris McInnes, and him and Dump Sanders were doing like they were in a feud, and they had been in a feud for a while, but it was every show they would come up with a spot essentially just for us to come out and get bumped, and at the time, I mean, I felt like on the moon. Like I felt like the coolest person ever to get to go out and just be a part of a wrestling show and just go out there and throw a couple punches on Dump Sanders, get a double clothesline and get a double choke slam, But to some people, they'd be like, why the hell would I do that? That's so stupid. Why would you? Why are you so excited over it? But at the time, I just dreamed of always being a wrestler. So the fact they always looked out for us to give us those opportunities was awesome. And Dumps, to this day, someone I could always talk to about really anything, beyond wrestling at this point. He's like family to me. Like he's someone that, like for instance, when things happen like with the NWA, things so cool. He's one of the first people I tell. He's one of the first. He's someone I can talk to about truthfully anything. So he's tremendous. He had a lot of cool things and good things to say about that match, and definitely gave us a lot of opportunities over the years.
When you had mentioned like you've known some of these guys since before you even like stepped foot in a ring, and you were just like helping out with the shows and that kind of stuff. Is there like any like strange item or anything that you like remember having to like retrieve for someone? Because I know sometimes in some of these indie shows, like they'll send people to go pick up like a whole bunch of fluorescent light tubes or something, and it's like, I've never done this before. Like, was there anything like that you had to do?
I'm trying to think here. I'm sure there's definitely been some very off the wall tasks that I've had to do over the years. I can't really think of any off the top of my head, but I know one of the coolest, I guess at the time, experiences was this was when I was like 2 or 3 months in, and I was hopped in the car with Cabana Man Dan and Donnie Primetime, and I went up to GCW for the weekend, and they were doing the Wombat show in Tullahoma, and this was 2019, and I remember being out there in the back, and that was the first time I'd been at a show of like that caliber, and I didn't really understand what's going. It was like the dub on like old Memphis wrestling and stuff like that, and it's I didn't really quite understand. And I remember being in the back, and Nick Gage walks by and was asking like, "Hey, has anybody got like a pack of like wraps? Like the Swisher Sweets?" And I was like, "I got plenty," So I was like, "I can hook you up, man." And I just remember at the time, like, being able to just assist someone like that on that. I was like, man, I feel like I at least provided some value to the show tonight,
I love that. All right, you might get a kick out of this. You mentioned Donnie Primetime. This is the reason I'm bringing this up. But my brother, he's not like a wrestling fan, but he watches so much wrestling like because he's around me. Like he doesn't ever watch it on his own, but like he knows more about indie wrestling than like that, way more than like the average person. And one of the funniest things ever to me was my brother was more familiar with Kung Fu Janela and like didn't like he thought when he saw Joey Janela that Joey Janela was ripping off Donnie Janela, and I thought that was like the funniest thing in the world.
That's tremendous.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jeremy. Sorry.
I want to ask about a former opponent that you had, and you're free to bury him if you would like. Well, I think he kind of sucks, but Cole Radrick.
Cole Radrick. I like Cole Radrick. We had a good match. I've only wrestled him one time. And it was the GCW New South show. I believe 2023. I've been on a few shows with him, but I've never, I haven't talked to him in quite a while. But, we had a really good match. I thought it was solid. I think it was one of those I wanted to do a little more at the time. Like I thought I could have done a little better. But I was proud of it.
It was probably Cole's fault. Whatever.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure your part was good. Anything that went wrong is his fault. It's fine.
No,
I don't know if this is a trap or not.
No. Cole is like almost like regular third mic on our show. Like he's on here with us all the time. So we're just joking around. Like
he wants to put me through a table.
Yeah,
he wants to put me through a table. So like I got a little bit of heat with him. We have a little bit of heat, not too much.
So maybe y'all should settle that.
No, I'm not trained.
No.
In the ring.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It would not go well for me. I know my limitations. I'm not dumb. I don't want to die or anything.
Right, I get it. But I mean, maybe you come and get him on his entrance. He might not see it coming.
That's well. That's why I try to get like other people to attack him for me, but everyone's like, "Oh, Cole's such a nice guy, such a good guy." And I'm like, fine. I guess how much do I have to pay you to like attack him? Then I understand there's good people, but like money can outweigh if I could pay up enough to.
Yeah, money talks. That's for sure.
All business.
Yeah, that's right. You can put aside he's a nice guy if I'm paying you nicely.
Oh,
you know
dude,
what I mean?
yeah, I don't. Hey, it could be one of my cousins. It could be the nicest people in the world. Give me the right dollar sign. Sorry about it.
Right,
Get you a drink after.
Kendrick Lamar is cutting his grandmother off if she doesn't agree with him. So like, if it's good enough to cut for Kendrick Lamar, then I feel like somebody else could do it. Somebody who's just a nice guy, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are some stuff that you like to do kind of away from wrestling to get your mind off of wrestling, if anything?
Yeah, you know, I'm a huge sports fan. I really like college football, college basketball, NFL. I like playing basketball. I play with my boss and coworkers once a week, and it's pretty competitive hoops. You know, I like doing that. I enjoy traveling, but you know that's part of the job, really. So most of my traveling comes with wrestling. A big video game guy. From time to time, I'll play I play college football on the video game religiously. If you can't tell, I'm a huge college football fan. And then eating food, lots of it. You know?
Who's your NFL team?
Unfortunately, the Titans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, I'm a lifelong Vikings fan. I mean, we had a good season this year, but we haven't ever won a Super Bowl. So it's like I can't really talk. Jeremy is he doesn't even like to admit that he's a fan of the team that he's a fan of. I don't even want to bring it up.
Now they're okay. They started off terrible.
Yeah.
I'm a Panthers fan. Why would I admit that to start this season? But
Bryce Young turned it around, though.
Bryce Young turned it around. So I'll fully admit it now.
If he gets a little bit of help, you know.
You're an Alabama
noise.
Guy.
Yeah,
so.
I love Bryce Young, man. I think he definitely had a very slow start, but I think they put a lot of pressure on these rookies these days to excel so quickly. And the complete difference of his play from when they benched him to when he came back is almost night and day. So at least now he has that promise to show that, okay, maybe that trade was worth it. Now we can build around it because you guys give up a lot, though. For that,
so much.
So he's really gonna have to make up for that at some point. But you can't do that without any help. So, but also, sorry, bro. But also, Steven, my dad's a Vikings fan. Before I forget, huge Vikings fan.
Very cool. So. Skull Vikings. I mean, I love the team. Kind of speaking of like Sam Darnold's kind of an example of what you were just talking about. A guy who was pretty much written off, and then like with the right situation, proved he can be a really great player. I don't expect him to be I wonder how your dad feels about this, but like, I don't expect Darnold to be the quarterback next year. I think we're going to either roll with JJ McCarthy or it might wind up being Aaron Rodgers or Matthew Stafford if he actually winds up leaving the Rams. But I like McCarthy a lot. I really want to see him get a chance, but it would also be I hate Aaron Rodgers. Obviously I don't want to see the same exact thing happen that happened with Favre, even though I wound up becoming a Favre fan for the 2 seasons he was in Minnesota. But like it'd just be too wild to see that happen again. But do you have any idea how your dad feels about that stuff as a Vikings fan?
Yeah. I know he's not too sold on McCarthy, you know. The thing with Darnold, I guess he put himself in a weird position because he was like a rental, but then he played so good that, dang, do we pay him? And if we don't, somebody else is going to. Do you tag him? I think the Aaron Rodgers move, I don't know if that would be the right move, but it would be funny to see him fulfill the same path as Brett Favre.
Yeah.
I know like a funny story though about my dad and the Vikings was that year the Vikings went to the NFC Championship with Favre. I remember for Christmas, he got this super nice Brett Favre jersey that, was nice, You guys go to the, obviously what happens in the conference championship game happens, and I remember the game ends. He didn't take the loss very well. And I remember going outside and there's his brand new Brett Favre jersey in the fire. Just withering, just melting away.
He's talking about after the Saints lost, the Bounty Gate loss that Sean Payton literally had. I don't know how that happens. Sean Payton, I still have a grudge against him. Sean Payton got caught orchestrating that. He was suspended the entire next season, and he's still coaching in the NFL to this day. How does that happen?
Yeah, a lot of these things are weird, man. It's and then like college football too has a lot of weird things with the penalties. Like they'll like some of these teams will get like severe sanctions or whatever for like recruiting violations or something, but like Michigan gets like blatantly caught in the sign stealing scandal, and there's a whole documentary about it, but they're probably not going to get punished at all, you know, and if they are, it's just going to be some variation of a slap on the wrist, you know? So, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. These things are weird.
Yeah.
And then like Josh Gordon in the NFL, like somebody could like catch a domestic violence charge and be able to play like in the same year or whatever, but then he, you know, smoked some weed and they're like, oh God, this man can never see a football field again. So, you know, it's weird.
It is.
Before we let you go, Tyler, one thing we ask everybody is, what is the coolest thing in your room?
To be honest, I don't really have anything super cool in my room at the moment.
It could be the PlayStation 5.
I mean, if that's the case, I mean, the PlayStation 5 is pretty cool, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe my cat's litter box. I don't know.
Are you going to get WWE 2K 26 or sorry, 25?
Maybe when it goes on sale, you know, we'll see. I haven't really got too into a wrestling game in a few years. I mean, I like playing GM mode, but I don't feel like I would play it enough to pay the full price at the moment, if that makes sense. You know, not to sound Mr. Krabs, but you know.
Well, it's also like an expense, like to get like the full version of the game now is like $100. I mean, it's not like it's a cheap game either. Yeah, I hear you though. I wound up getting the one last year. I wound up getting a PS5 last year myself, and then that was like the first game I got for it because I was like, oh, new system, I got to play the WWE game, and I had a lot of fun with it. I'll get the one this year also, but like most games, you know, I wound up playing it for like a few months and then wind up like, you know, doing something else. So, you know, it is what it is. It's still nothing's topping like the N64 games that I grew up on, you know, but yeah, that's a whole other conversation in itself.
Yeah, no, it'd be like that.
Yeah, it'd be like that. Well, hey, okay, you don't have a whole lot of cool stuff in your room. What would be the coolest, like, oh, go ahead.
Well, I do remember, I guess because it's not on my wall because I moved, it's like under my bed or something. But I have this really cool, like, it's like this big painting of Mark Ingram from the 2009 National Championship game. But I got it signed by him when I was a kid. He did like an autograph signing at the Huntsville Mall. So I thought that's a pretty cool, you know, piece of memorabilia to have.
That's very cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That's extremely cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, that's good. And then I was going to ask you, just this will be my last question, just pretty generic question, but like dream matches. You know, who maybe that you haven't wrestled that you think you could maybe wrestle in the foreseeable future, and then maybe on like a bigger scale, maybe down the line, like, you know, dream opponent type stuff.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you a couple here. For me, the ultimate dream opponent, like if we're gonna dream as big as we could dream here, for me would be Randy Orton for sure. He was the first ever episode of Monday Night Raw I ever watched was the episode where he pulled Cena's dad out of the crowd and punted him. And I remember just instantly being like, I ran outside, opened the door, I was like, Dad, he just kicked Cena's dad in the head. You know, I was just so like just so shocked. And it just ever since then, you know, I was the biggest Randy Orton fan. So him, and then trying to think of some people here maybe on the indies. I know one that I would really like to have at some point. I'd really like to work with Jonathan Gresham. I think, you know, because I'm a huge fan of the technical wrestling that he does. And when I was early on, before I'd had a match, I did his seminar he had in New South. And I remember at the time I was like, man, I really feel like, you know, a lot of this stuff is very cool. Like, and learning like a lot of cool stuff from him. So I feel like he's somebody that not only I could have a good match with, but I could learn a lot from as well. Them two, that's two. And then man, there's so many people, man.
Yeah,
I want to wrestle so many different kind of people here. I don't know, but it's one of those like it's like I guess like a a common question, but it's also one of those like you really think about it. It's like,
And also like, yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. Like, I was trying to think also, and I'm like, who haven't you wrestled that like I really would want to see you wrestle right now? And then obviously you versus Randy Orton, that'd be very cool to see one day. Well, we'll keep that one noted for if and when that ever happens. So
yeah, so I'll go ahead and put that out there. Like, hey, New South, that's I got that championship back. Actually, it's not far from me. Now since I got it, oh god, I'm about to drop.
That's one of the coolest things in your room. You got plenty of
yeah, there it is. This one takes the cake right here. Can't fit it all in the camera,
Yes.
But I got this. I would definitely love to put it on the line against him whenever. And then anybody else that wants it, if anybody considers me a dream match or a cool match to have, come take your shot. The market's wide open.
Well, Tyler, we appreciate you joining us here tonight. Let everybody know what you got coming up and where they can find you at.
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at AB_T Franks. Facebook is just Tyler Franks. This weekend coming up, I got New South Flowtown Showdown on Saturday. Me and a mystery partner will be taking on Sam and the Wall, leading up to me and the Wall at the Haas tournament in a couple weeks. I'm excited for that match. Not excited that he came and beat me down after the 2 out of 3 falls match, or 3 stages of hell. But we'll get that settled. And then this Sunday, I'll be in San Antonio for Dog Pound Championship Wrestling, NWA Texas. So that'll be a cool opportunity, and I'm excited for that.
I also wanted to mention real quick, everyone to keep a lookout on the social media for New South, because they have been making a lot of announcements for the Haas tournament coming up. So, I'm very much looking forward to that. One of my favorite tourneys of the year, the heart of the Southern 16 tournament. So.
Yeah, definitely a tournament that I always get excited about every year. And this year, obviously, I'm not competing in it because I'm the champion, but it'll be very cool to not stress about trying to win the tournament and get to relax and watch those guys. And hopefully I can tear down that wall that weekend as well. So
you almost did it last year, made it the finals.
Yeah, I know. So close, man. So close. But yeah. So, dual ends of the swords. Sometimes you can't have your cake and eat it too. I guess I'll be happy being the South champion.
Well, Tyler, again, thank you for joining us. And guys, we'll be right back here on the Spotlight.
Thank you guys for